I wonder if Brighton fans are beginning to get, well, not complaining to anybody, but they're certainly beginning to get worried, are they not? Brighton taken apart at the weekend by Bournemouth 3-0, leaves them 12th in the league. It remains 3 Premier League wins in 2024. That was against Palace, Sheffield United and Forest. In 15 games, 7 losses and 5 draws. It's not gone well. I mean, the man Roberto De Zerbi at one stage was being touted for a whole variety of top jobs. Not that Brighton isn't a top job, but maybe not so much at the moment. So the Brighton fairy tale, is it coming to an end? He spoke post-match down at Bournemouth.
It's a difficult moment for me as well, our players. I think we are spending a tough period. I didn't listen only one question about the injuries players, but I don't know, you can forget 8-9 players, but if you forget the question about our injuries players, you have to remember we are not Real Madrid, and we can suffer with 8, 9, 10 injuries players. And I'm speaking about injuries players because you forgot the question about injuries players.
No.
Otherwise, I would say nothing.
Now, Simon, it's fair to say you're not having him after his outburst. I think it was after the defeat at the hands of Roma.
Yeah.
When he said he was calling out for more from the owner, Tony Bloom, for them to be allowed to catch up with some of the great and the good in the game.
Yeah.
From that point onwards, I think you changed your attitude towards him.
I always found him to be a certain type. And I didn't warm to him, but you can't not warm to the way that his team played at certain times. I love the analogy that we're not Real Madrid, yeah, but you weren't playing against Barcelona, were you? You were playing against Bournemouth. So with due respect to Bournemouth, let's get comparisons into perspective. I didn't like the way he behaved. I think it was preposterous what he said after the Roma game. I think you can have that conversation with your owner. Of course you can. You can say to your owner or to the very sensible and highly qualified chief executive that you've got in Paul Barber, these conversations. For you to go and do that after a game which you were outthought, outmaneuvered and outplayed by Roma and came away with your heads in your hands, I think shows the calibre of the person. It smacked of a Conte sort of outlook and outburst without any of the achievements that Conte has. So you priced at him with Conte because you go, I'll tell you what, Conte will win you things. This guy, for me, I don't know, maybe he showed the characteristics which a lot of clubs, I think most owners would have looked at and gone, I'm not sure about that. Because that's when you judge managers. You judge managers alongside, of course, them winning games. That's a given. But you judge people, I think, in life and in relationships in moments of adversity, not when things are going your way. Because everybody's friends and everybody's backslapping. Everybody wants you to take a picture with their firstborn child. It becomes about what you do when something is not as easy and not as straightforward. And I didn't like it. That doesn't mean he's not a capable football manager. It doesn't mean that he's not capable of learning the lessons in the same way that once upon a time I didn't particularly think that Gary Rowett behaved himself the way he should have done at Birmingham.
But you've changed your attitude now.
Of course, because if you don't change your opinion based upon new information, then you're a fool. And things have changed and evolved. And I don't like De Zerbi's character at this moment in time, or his media representation of it. And I think ultimately he's got to get through this period because he didn't complain when things were going his way, and he needs not to when they aren't.
Is he no longer the wanted man, Martin?
Well, I think there's something in that. I think, and I wouldn't disagree with what Simon has said. I think that he stepped up when he came into the football club at Brighton and seemingly enhanced them again, if almost as if that was possible after Potter. But he did do very, very well. But there are moments then when you are doing this, then that you are touted for other jobs. It's the moment. There's certain moments that it kind of reminds me of that. Please. I was nearly going to say about Shakespeare, Julius Caesar. There's a tide in the affairs of men when taken at the flood or something, I guess, here leads on to fortune. And if you don't take it at that time. So in other words, there is that. I've had it myself, when you are in the moment and then every single job, every big job comes up, you're touted for it. And then suddenly, when you lose a few games, you're no longer the man. That happens in the game. That just happens to be there.
You start believing in your own hype.
I only did that for about 12 years, and but you start to believe that this year, and he was, as I say, touted for every big job going. You don't win the football games, whatever you do, and I'm talking from a bit of experience here now. Don't start blaming everything. Don't put it, as Simon says, we're not Real Madrid. Of course, you know you're not Real Madrid because you didn't play Barcelona. And I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Don't make talk about injuries. Everybody has injuries. But you know what? This is the funny thing about it. When you are a manager and you feel as if people are hounding you for something, and you think to yourself, shall I stand up for myself and say something, or shall I just let it go and hopefully people will pick out the bones of it and think you're doing okay? It is a thin dividing line, but at the end of it all, don't be making excuses at then. Don't do that.
It's about emotional intelligence. You cannot stop people talking about you. You cannot stop people because success indexes you to other jobs. It's how you carry yourself when those moments come, and the choices that you allow, and the maturity. If we sat here, in our small little space, subscribing to everyone telling us how wonderful our show was, and buying into that flattery, then you'd lose the focus of what created the reasons for the flattery in the first place, right? And sometimes in football, and football people are very susceptible to it because you can't not be. Young players being told they're the best thing since sliced bread. Managers being put on front page of newspapers as if they're solving world problems. Yeah. You can't not get caught up in that. But it's about the emotional intelligence to go, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to buy into that. I'm not going to subscribe to that. Opportunity will come if I do my job well. And I think De Zerbi is one of those that has tickets on himself.
I think on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.